Let's go. Anthony Richardson is back. His first game back as a starter. 0 interceptions, 272 yards passing, 20 for 30, 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown. His confidence is there. They're giving him the ball. They're letting him run it a little more, which is really nice to see. Also, the end of that game where he had the ball, he had to drive down the field with just a couple minutes left and score a touchdown for them to win that game. They did it. They scored the touchdown. They leave a couple seconds on, and Aaron Rodgers can't come back and beat him. But what I like to see is he was able to make those layups, and he was able to minimize some of his mistakes. He did fumble the ball a couple times. He did do some little shovel passes that were a little dangerous, but he kept the mistakes down. And if he can keep doing that and keep learning, he's going to keep his job. So this is the quarterback you want in fantasy football. Someone that's going to get rushing touchdowns, someone that's going to get rushing attempts, and still be able to pass the ball. Now, that was against one team. We'll see how they go against Detroit this week. But let's say keep the ball rolling, Anthony Richardson. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, with it being one game, I'm skeptical. Yeah.
Go for it, Markus.
Sorry, Zach. I would say from a fantasy perspective, he's definitely somebody who showed why he was being drafted as, I think, QB5 earlier this year with that game. I will say it's one game. It's against the Jets, who are clearly a bad football team. Their defense is not what it was last year. From a real football perspective, I'm just not sure. But we'll see. It would be really nice that the Colts, go back to having some hope, because if you don't have a quarterback, then you really have no hope at all. But we'll see what he can do against the Lions. Not saying he has to go out there and win, but as long as he goes out there and looks competent, then we can say, okay, maybe that few weeks off actually did him some good.
Yeah, so first of all, back from what exactly? I mean, was he ever super good? I don't know. But he definitely, had a really good game on Sunday from a fantasy perspective. If you have that goal line touchdown ability, that's a guy that I want to have. So not sold on him long term. Not a guy I would trade for in Dynasty, but I think he should not be on free agents for redraft leagues.
Yeah, I mean his upside is huge. I mean, if you're in a spot where you're an underdog to win in fantasy and you have a chance to play Anthony Richardson, he gives you a chance. He can put up 30, 40 fantasy points. I think you're just going to see a lot of inconsistency. I mean, now we probably have, I would imagine, somewhat close to 10 games as a sample size for him now, and we've seen all ends of the spectrum. We've seen him do terrible, and we've seen him blow up. So I think that's going to be what it's like going forward. I think he's going to have some single-digit fantasy point games, and I think he's going to have some eruptions.
Do we like this long-term? Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
He was drafted high for a reason, because he has the ability to break fantasy football. He has the ability to get those rushing touchdowns and throw the ball deep. He can throw the deep ball. Now all he has to do is minimize his mistakes. He's still young. He's still learning. And I think he played very consistent this last game. If he can just not turn the ball over, that's all I can ask for him. I'd rather punt the ball than see him throw a pick six or anything like that. So as long as he stays safe and keeps making those layups, and that's what we saw this last game. He was able to hit the deep balls. He was able to make the splash plays, but he's also able to hit they needed 7 yards, and he was able to get it. He didn't overthrow them and throw a pick six or throw an interception. I just want to see him clean up a little bit of his fumbles, but this is a quarterback I want in fantasy. I just want to see a little more consistency long term. So let's watch another couple games and see how it goes.
How do you guys feel about
stay healthy too?
Yeah, that and the Colts with the AFC South. What are we thinking there? I mean, they're 2 games out behind the Texans.
Texans look bad.
Markus says no.
I would say no. They've already been swept by the Texans. It doesn't matter how the Texans have looked. Their schedule, I think, just having that cushion. I mean, I don't know. We saw Jacksonville choke it away last year. Maybe that's just how it is in the AFC South. I think ultimately that having swept the Colts, that tiebreaker means the Colts going to have to make up 3 more games. very, very unlikely. As a Colts fan, that would be great. As a betting person, no, but maybe I'm just able to hedge my happiness. If something like that happened, then I don't need the money. I'd already be happy. So
I just think
Well, I don't
with
know
the
what the odds are.
inconsistency that we're going to get from AR, like they're not going to string together a bunch of wins. Like he's still going to make those mistakes. He's still a young player. Like they're not going to be able to string together the wins it's going to take to get them back to the top of the division.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I definitely think the Texans are going to hold on, but the Texans have not been instilling a whole lot of confidence. Even Monday night, they won the game, and the final score was pretty big in their favor. But um, I still didn't think Stroud looked as good as we saw him look last year. I think he's having a little bit of a sophomore slump, and I think they're heading the wrong direction. So
And really,
Sure.
even the defense. I mean, they gave up what 350, 400 yards to rush. I mean, they didn't score a lot, but they were moving the ball without any problem.
Colts are
yeah, I don't know
plus
about that. I mean, he had
1,400.
the Turpin,
Colts are plus
yeah,
1,400 to
plus
what?
1,400. So you
To
only
win the AFC
need
South?
like
Yeah.
yeah. So that your probability that this needs to happen is like somewhere between 5 and 10%. So it's for it to be a good bet. So I mean, it's not like obviously I don't think the Colts are going to win it, but do they have at least an 8% chance? I don't know, maybe. Like that's all you'd probably need without doing the math.
Yeah.
So